The Tech It Up Talk podcast aspires to educate, inform, and inspire educators from teachers to school leaders on tips, tools, and resources to support the integration of technology into classroom instruction.
You ready? Here we go.
You're listening to Tech It Up Talk with Dr. Mac, your host with the most passion for supporting educators from teachers to school leaders with the integration of technology into instruction. In this episode of Tech It Up Talk, we are discussing the impact, connections, and challenges of technology integration in physical and health education. And joining me in this discussion, I have the pleasure of having some amazing guests with a strong passion for health and physical education. I would like to welcome Ms. Felicia Ceasar-White, Francina Hollingsworth, and Paula Ceasar. Felicia Ceasar-White is a curriculum manager of health and physical education for K-12. She also serves as the professional development coordinator to plan and facilitate district-wide professional development for all health and physical education teachers. Francina Hollingsworth is a curriculum specialist for health and physical education, and over the years, she has specialized in cultivating children's and adults' health, physical well-being, and wellness through advocating and elevating initiatives to help expand awareness of health behaviors. And Paula Ceasar is a health and physical education educator, and she's always searching for innovative ways to reach her students in class and to keep them actively involved and engaged. And so I'm honored to have them all here today to join me on the Tech It Up Talk podcast. Let me go ahead and welcome Felicia Ceasar-White, Francina Hollingsworth, and Paula Ceasar. So thank you guys for joining me today. I am super excited to have you on the Tech It Up Talk podcast. And I think this is just a great topic to talk about because sometimes I feel like we don't really give as much attention to physical and health education as we do other areas. So I want to welcome you guys on today.
Thank you for having us and inviting us to your podcast.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Really help us to really get the word out of how the integration of technology is a very important piece of health and physical education.
Right. And so if you guys could do me a favor, just think about, it's been a crazy past 2 years. What is one word that you would describe to your experience in education since COVID has made its introduction and impact?
My one word over the year has been flexibility, being flexible.
I think I'm going to say patience because over a little over a year, I switched districts and I switched roles. So that, packed on a lot of patience with learning new things and incorporating new ideas and technology in my new role.
My new word is going to be positive. Just being positive in everything that I say and do, and having a positive attitude and going through this pandemic and making sure that my students get the best that they can get from me.
Right, I love it. I think those are all three great choices. We have flexibility, patience, and positive. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with this because, I want to really bring attention to health and physical education and its importance. So let's just start by explaining, why is physical education an important part of our educational ecosystem for students?
Well, I'll go ahead on and start with that. Just one of the reasons why both health and physical education is very important to our students, but also to our school community. So when our students are healthy and physically fit, they are more cognitive awareness. So they will become more better learners. They will be able to learn the content, not just in health and physical education, but they become well academically. The content and the instruction that is provided through health and physical education not only develops a student's motor skills and their knowledge and their behaviors for physical activity as well as fitness, but it also helps them to establish the confidence in being physically active, not just for their time in being in a physical education class, but it helps them to become a, a a lifetime of being physically fit, where they learn those foundational skills about physical activity. And this is one reason why it is really so important that our schools have a very comprehensive um, school physical activity program, because number one, it increases their level of physical activity. Two, it improves their scores, their academic standards, and more than likely, when campuses have a very robust physical education classes, students enjoy that, and guess what? Attendance. Attendance is greatly improved because students feel really belonging and a part of something that really they can experience and have those real life situations and take it away and be able to use those concepts as an individual, but then also being able to have those physical activity and fitness and health concepts, and being able to share that with their community, their families. And so it's very important, especially, it's always been important, but especially now that our nation is focused on health and wellness. And, the first thing that when the whole pandemic started out, the first thing was we need to wash our hands. And so basically it really looked back at those basic needs that students learn very early on, in their pre-kinder years, their primary years, just the importance of washing hands. And so, kids, students learn these concepts that they could use over a lifetime. So yes, it's very important.
Wow, yeah, you said that very well. And so you brought up the pandemic, and that can now kind of shift into the next question. Like, what were some challenges that were experienced from teachers outside, us going back to the basics when the pandemic first hit?
Well, I think one of the biggest hurdles we had to face was technology. Our students lack devices, and then our teachers also, their competency level on different platforms might not have been at the level it needed to be to fully engage kids in a virtual world. So we really had to work on getting our staff up to speed on engaging kids in a virtual class, and showing them the tools that can help them with their class and their students. So that was one of the biggest hurdles. And then in order for us to teach the teachers and students, we had to learn ourselves. So if there was something, during the pandemic, the whole educational world, we were all working together, offering tips, offering ideas, lessons. So we came together as a whole to uplift each other and help each other, the students, our campuses. So that was another great thing that came out of the pandemic. We were struggling, but a lot of us built a community where we helped each other, from the beginners to the advanced. We all came together to help each other grow and make sure that our kids didn't get left behind in this crazy world. Even though, there was a lot of hiccups, but, we could have done better, but some things were out of our hands. So we had to do what was best for our kids and students that was in our control.
I like to kind of add to what Francina said, as far as some of the challenges. Yes, the challenge was making sure that all of our students had access to those digital devices. But the other challenge was not only just for the digital devices, but also making sure that there was a infrastructure on the campuses to be able to support the broadband that was needed for students to be able to access digital resources. So that was a challenge on many campuses, due to the fact that sometimes your physical education class was not directly connected to the main building. So we had to basically look through infrastructure, but then also work with your technology campus coordinators to be able to help facilitate those accessibilities.
Paula, you're working directly with kids in physical education. So what was your experience like?
It was challenging to be teaching from home, but the good thing is within our district, we had the 1-to-1 ratio where majority of the students had their own laptop for the past 4 years. And we have integrated technology within physical education within those 4 years. So as a physical educator, I incorporated using technology at least once a week within my class. And my students were used to using that technology, but just making sure that every student had that piece of technology once they went home, and teachers are teaching virtually and making sure they had that internet connection. So that could have been another challenge because some students may have not had that internet connection at home. So what the district provided was hotspots to students, which was a great resource for all of our students within the district. But they had to partner with a company that helped provide free Wi-Fi to those students.
And so, and you spoke about how you're using technology, but it may not be always the case for all physical education teachers. And so what are some challenges that physical education teachers face with just integrating technology on a normal daily basis?
Being that we are physical educators, bringing in technology into the classroom was kind of like, I don't want to do that. We're physical activity. I don't have time to be bringing a laptop in the class because we're cutting out. But when you have a 90-minute class, it's easy to incorporate at least 10 minutes or 15 minutes of a warm-up for students to do on the laptop and then move into that physical activity piece. But you have to put in those routines and procedures so students could be adapted and be able to bring their laptops to class. And some of those challenges were some students didn't bring it. So we incorporated, hey, well, if you don't have your laptop, if you have a cell phone or a tablet, you can utilize that within the class. And by incorporating to have them to track their steps, even with their phones, they could use that telephone just to track their steps or record their meals within their phones by using an app like MyFitnessPal or MapMyFitness.
And Dr. McDonald, in the beginning of the pandemic, I was still in the classroom. So I am a little techie. Sometimes I have to get on YouTube and then figure out how to do things. But while I was still on campus, I was also the department chair. And before, the pandemic, I was telling people in my department, hey, you need to learn this. Let me know if I can help you. And during some of our PLC meetings, I would actually show or teach different pieces of different tech platforms. Well, lo and behold, we have, we're still in the pandemic, but we had the start of the pandemic. We were quarantined, and so many of my coworkers and friends in my previous district reached out to me and was like, hey, how do you do this? Hey, show me this again. Can we meet? And literally I had a couple of friends to beg me. They're like, look, I'm not sick. Can I please come to your house? Because I need you to actually show me and guide me through how to do this. So I was like, okay, long as you wear your mask, you can come over. And because, Previously people were like, well, I don't really need tech. I'm doing fine without it. My kids are still learning without it, so I don't have to incorporate it. But, but when they had to use it, it was like 911, hey, help me, come help me put this flame out. So, and, like I said earlier, we all gathered together to help each other out. So that was one of the things, like, we I think it's across all contents. We have people that are willing to try and be like, oh, what's that? What are you doing? Show me what to do. And they'll try it with their kids. And then you have people like, well, I'm not techie, I'm not going to try it. And so the pandemic pushed everyone to try at least one or two platforms. And hopefully a lot of people are still using tech in their classes and haven't completely thrown it to the side and be like, well, we're back face to face, so I don't have to use this anymore.
And so, speaking of, like, what would be some, even before COVID, what would be some common pushback from teachers? I know I heard Paul say that, we don't have time for this, but what were some other pushbacks that teachers may face that may be in the physical education space?
I'll kind of just start it off, but I'll ask my colleagues to kind of pick up where I leave off. Is that planning? You had to really spend time to plan to make sure that whatever technology that you were planning to use, that you were using it relevant, that it was meaningful. And so you really had to, number one, learn it. And so this is what time comes in. You had to learn it, you had to experience it, you had to do some trial and error to make sure that you were embedding it properly for student use and not just adding technology and it's not meaningful and irrelevant. So you really had to make sure to do some research on those platforms that you were going to be using. Let's say discussions. So if I wanted to have these virtual discussions with my students and I wanted to capture written feedback, so I needed to find out, hey, in our learning management system, is there a text source that I can do a discussion board there? Or should I do a Padlet? Padlet has been around for a number of years. Health and physical education teachers may have not been as familiar with that. So, if I wanted to be able to do some assessments, what are some assessment type tools? So planning and time for planning became very important. And it was not doing anything so much extra from your daily routine, but then how do I take what I have and integrate technology within it? And so planning became very, very important because you don't want to add something in and then your students are looking like, why are we doing this? It's irrelevant to what we're learning. So you wanted to make sure that the tools that you were using, that you plan to also make it relevant and meaningful for your students.
I'll jump on. It's the professional development. Just having professional development that is related to physical educators and incorporating that technology. And I could say with working with Felicia and Francina this year in developing lessons that are meaningful to our teachers and providing that professional development to them and how to incorporate that technology, not only into physical education, but also into our health classes. Prior to the pandemic, professional development was always geared towards your core content. And if a physical educator sitting in that training and be like, this doesn't apply to me. Why am I in here? I need something that is meaningful to me as an educator that I can bring back to my class. So for me, I was always searching. And Dr. McDonald, you have been a great resource to me in showing me how to use OneNote. I've always contacted you and say, hey, how how can I do this and how can I incorporate this into my class? So I appreciate all the knowledge that you have brought to me that I could bring to my colleagues and to my students. So just having that professional development training.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and you hit a good point because I think oftentimes, and not just PE too, but I think a lot of the elective courses, we spend a lot of time on core and trying to perfect it for accountability, whether it's reading, math, which are of course important. But like when we first started the podcast today, Felicia made a very strong point about the holistic child in their being and being able to perform in other places, and physical education allows that. So we should also bring attention to developing our teachers to kind of help, especially for our digital age students and the different things that are going on, to be equally supported in the same capacity for blended learning or instruction to help maximize their time as well, just like the focus is in the core areas. And so, yeah, I definitely appreciate that. Go ahead.
Dr. McDonald, just kind of add on to what you're saying is that in changing the mindset of how people perceive physical education is actually recognized as a core when you look at it from the national standard. So we are a core. We are an intricate part of your math, English, science, and social studies. And so we want to, I also think that the pandemic has really brought out how important health education, physical education, social emotional learning is. Health and physical education, they are your basis for those social emotional learning. And so, we are that glue that holds math, English, science, and social studies together. Because when you look at it, when your students are physically active, it activates what they call endorphins. And if you're sitting for 20 minutes, your brain is like, you don't have that activity. But once you start moving and activating those endorphins, learning begins to take place. So, we are a core.
I love it. Yes, PE, physical education, health education is a core. So that's something we can definitely take back when we after listening to this podcast. You guys have made some very, very valid points. And so, what advice would you guys give to teachers who may be apprehensive or feel that they don't necessarily need to use the technology in their courses?
I think a lot of people, when they think of technology, they automatically think like certain platforms, using Google, using Padlet, using Kahoot. However, physical education, we use technology. It might be devices. It might be, showing videos. It might be playing music. It might be the fitness apps that we use. But so we use technology, but we use it in different ways. So I want physical education teachers to broaden their horizon and just think about how to incorporate additional technology in their classrooms, or health educators, because we do use technology all the time, presenting, and like I said, we show a lot of videos and skill-based videos, but maybe instead of showing videos of strangers, they can think about how to record their students and make videos of their students where it's now they're getting student buy-in because they are engaging their kids in the technology use. So it's little things like that, and just being open to explore. There's a lot out there that could get overwhelming, but just being open to explore what's best for their students and what's best for them, and like little things that they can incorporate that won't take 50 years to learn, and and after that time they still don't have it together, but just taking baby steps and incorporating little things that is manageable for them.
And and one thing that I like to advise health and physical educators is to before you use different types of apps with your kids, there's a lot of apps that track steps, that tracks calories. you need to make sure that you're following your school or your district policies, to make sure that you are not infringing on students' right, or looking at the information that is collected from these different apps too as well. So you want to make sure that you have permission to be able to use those apps that collect personal information from students. So just wanted to kind of throw that in as you're looking at different tools to be able to use with your students. Just make sure that they are make sure that you are within your legal guidelines.
Right. Yes. You want to make sure you're FERPA and COPA compliant.
Yes.
It's always important. Okay, great. And so we're going to move on to the next segment of the show, which I like to call Get Your Tech Together. And in this segment, I really just want you guys to share some more specific technology applications that health and physical educators could use to better enhance their instruction or engage students in physical education.
Flipgrid. Flipgrid is a great tool. I jumped on it before Francina did. It's a great tool that physical educators can use. I know that TikTok is very popular right now. Students I always see my students in PE, they're doing some type of TikTok dance. So physical educators and health educators, when you're trying to create a campaign maybe for students, they could do a quick TikTok or a quick Flipgrid, just bringing awareness to our students about sexual health or personal health, mental health. They could do those quick presentations using those different type of platforms. Like now we're working on a platform for sexual health for our students, and we're trying to incorporate those platforms using Flipgrid or maybe using TikTok, just to put that social media preference out there to those students, just to bring that awareness about not only to our students, but also our parents, to make them aware of what our students are participating in and how active they are in those particular behaviors.
And they enjoy it. They have fun with it, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Paula, thank you for bringing that up, because with these different platforms is a way of helping students to advocate, and also being able to hear student voices in these certain particular areas where they can advocate for their own personal health. So yes, Flipgrid is a great one, but then also just using just the minimal, the videos. Having your students to capture videos of themselves, and then being able to critique it from a biomechanics perspective. Are you in the right position to strike a ball or to catch a ball, and help him to really critique just the description of what the correct technique is for a particular activity.
And since Paula stole my my answer, I'm gonna say Google applications. I use a lot well, let me back up. I create a lot of different activities on Google Slide, and I also use Google Form a lot. It's a way to get kids involved, and instead of having the paper worksheets, you could change those paper worksheets into digital worksheets and get immediate feedback from the students. Google Form, I use a lot of student surveys, just like quick check-ins or fun little activities. When the pandemic first happened, I had my students compare the original We Are the World to the new, I think it was 2010 We Are the World for Haiti, and they loved it because it incorporated music, and a lot of them never heard the original song, so they were like, and I had the video of of We Are the World, and it was like, is that Michael Jackson? And so in the comments on the Google form, they were sending me comments about how they really enjoyed the activity. So it's using like simple Google tools, but incorporating fun ideas for the students. So it doesn't have to be something advanced. It doesn't have to be a particular app. A lot of people still use Microsoft. So thinking about how can you incorporate Microsoft 365 to create activities for your kids to get feedback and student outcome. So going back to Google Slide, you could do a drop and drag. I watched a lot of or researched a lot of elementary teachers and saw like their little fun activities, and I was like, okay, how can I do something similar for physical education and for health? So you can look at what some of the academic content, what they're doing, and incorporate physical activity and health skills and topics in those activities. So yeah, I think I'm done.
We also want to make sure that we're including, what students have learned, what they know, what they've learned. And we want to say, hey, how do we capture that? How do we assess our students, especially when the pandemic started? How do you gather or tabulate what students are learning? So there's a tool that's called Quizzes. That is like an actual assessment that has assessments from all of your content area, where teachers are able to go in and look at questions and pull together like an item bank based on, what it is that they're teaching at that particular time, and do some little quick assessments to make sure that students actually mastered the student learning objective. And so it was that quick way to get that information from them as well. But then also, I think that we had so many of our kids that flourished in the technology when we're solely, working from home, virtual learning, where you had more. Well, I can't actually do the skill. For your students that may have some of those physical limitations, they were able to respond in writing. And so about, the particular skill, I can't do it, but I can tell you how to do it. I can write about it. And so when you look at that, you now as a physical education teacher have included your literacy skills. So students are now writing when you're having those discussion boards. Now they're having that discourse. So when you look at physical education and the inclusivity of technology, we are really reaching that whole child and giving them those opportunities to be able to have those digital conversations with their peers.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And so we're going to go ahead and go to the last segment of our show, because you guys are really giving some good nuggets here. And I can't wait to share the podcast and for others to kind of give feedback on what they heard, because, a lot of times we don't put that focus in physical education. And so you guys have really highlighted some points to consider. Of course, I think technology integration is important for all content areas. And so I definitely want to highlight the voices. And, in working with you guys in the past, I know that you guys have a very strong foundation for physical health and physical education, and a passion, and really believe in making meaningful learning experiences for students. And so your voice was really important to add to as value to my podcast and to my audience. And so I really thank you guys for being here. But before you go, if you guys can enter this last segment for the tech smackdown, and what we're going to do is just share 2 of your best tips for educators to walk away with at the end of the show. And it doesn't matter which order you go in, and we can kind of vote on who gave the best tip between you, Paula, Felicia, and Francina. So whoever wants to go first, you can jump right in, or I had guests in the past they'll do paper rock scissors to see who goes first. But however you guys want, I see paper rock scissors happening. Here we go.
Okay,
What
I'll
a
go
great
first.
way to add in that this is part of your technology too.
And with that, you can also add, instead of doing paper, rock, scissors, you will be the paper, rock, scissors. So you do a physical activity doing paper, rock, scissors. So paper, rock,
Okay.
and you do scissors, like a scissor kick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
The two tips that I want to give educators, especially classroom teachers and administrators, be open. Sometimes chaos could be organized chaos coming into a physical education class, and just be willing to accept that technology, and be willing to use at least one or two platforms that is feasible for you and your students.
I'll go next. Explore what's out there. Look to see what other teachers are doing. It doesn't have to be physical education or health teachers. It could be other teachers, fine arts, world languages, academic. Look to see what they're doing. What science. A lot of things that happen in science we could incorporate in physical education and health. Look to see what they're doing, and also look at what you're currently doing dealing with tech and how can you elevate it. So you might be using tech, but think about, okay, I have done this for the last 2 years. How can I elevate it? How can I take it to the next level? How can I engage the kids more, using the things that I'm doing? So explore and elevate.
I love it.
Okay, thank you, Paula and Francina. Oh God, you guys are hard to follow. I would say, as I said in the beginning, it's plan. Make a plan and make sure that whatever digital resource that you utilize, making sure that it's relevant and it's useful. Francina talked about going to your colleagues, your peers, to see what they are using. But let me tell you, the best resource is your students. Talk to your students. Find out what their needs are. Find out what they are doing. And then when you get that student voice in, it becomes much easier because your students would teach you how to use the different platforms. And guess what? When they feel like they have taught you something and you actually use it, guess what? They feel a part of the ownership of your class. And so now they are spreading the word. Hey, I did this. And that's part of health and physical education, is ensuring that your students are making sure that they are feeling like they belong, like they have a voice. So incorporating that student voice in the many different platforms that you have and getting their assistance, that's just going to change your whole culture of your classroom. So that student voice.
Love it. I love it. I think that student voice is very important, and voice choice. But it definitely, the link to your point, helps with building student agency and them being accountable for their learning as well. A lot of times they're being talked to, and expected to perform, but like let them be a part of that learning process and hear from them. Because when you have choice and you have a voice, you feel more enriched and motivated to give more than what you probably would have given otherwise. And so I love those points. So thank you guys so much for sharing. I'm really excited because this is really a good conversation. And so it won't be the last time I invite you guys back on. So just be looking out for me. We're going to have another opportunity to do something. I think maybe we can do something where you guys can show us some physical things, how we can leverage the technology, because I know you guys are doing some amazing things already.
Yes,
But
and one thing I do, I'd like to come back and pick up right where you just left off. Student choice.
Okay.
How do we create physical education to make sure that we're offering those different opportunities for students to be able to participate, provide their feedback? So how do we use those universal design learnings in health and physical education to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all of our students?
All right, we got our next topic, everybody. So we're gonna have to just go ahead and book that as soon as we end this, and we can book it out for the next date. So we're gonna talk about student choice and physical education. And so before you guys go, if you guys can just share, how can our listeners connect with you guys and be a part of your personal learning network, for whether it's Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, whichever platform you prefer, please share how they can connect with you.
You could connect with me on Twitter at Girls Getting Fit, and that's girls with a U, not an I.
And you can connect with me on Twitter at F Ceasar. That's FCEASER.
And for me, you can connect with me on Twitter at Caesar Paula. It's capital C, CEASER, and capital PAULA.
All right. Well, thank you, Paula, Francina, and Felicia. You guys have been amazing today. I'm looking forward to our next topic that we're about to book right after this recording. So I'd like to end the show with, tech may not always be easy, but it sure is fun. Thank you for listening to the Tech It Up Talk podcast with Dr. Mac, your host with the most passion for supporting educators on using and implementing technology. Be sure to connect with me on the Tech It Up Talk Facebook page and Twitter and Instagram at Tech It Up Talk or at Dr. J.E. McDonald. Now, I know teching may not always be easy, but it sure is fun.